Hi, welcome to Center Stage on ThinkTech. On ThinkTech, we are raising awareness about technology, energy, diversity, and globalism every day. We are here Monday through Friday from noon to 5. Check out all of the shows, but welcome to Center Stage here. I am your host, Donna Blanchard, very proud Managing Director of Kumu Kahua Theater, and we are coming to you live from Pioneer Plaza in the heart of downtown Honolulu, very near Kumu Kahua Theater. I am excited to tell you that our guest today is Chloe Amos. Chloe is going to be doing a Dark Night dance piece at Kumu Kahua Theater this coming July. She is a dance student from Adelphi University, and she's getting ready to go to Bennington College, but in the interim, we have her here in Honolulu, and we are happy to welcome her. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's very nice to have you here. I love the concept of the piece that you're doing for Dark Nights. And I want to say, were you familiar with Dark Nights before? Did you know?
Very vaguely, not very much at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like to talk about the fact that it's when Kumu Kahua Theater first started. It was a part of the university. They performed at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and they performed at. Then, when they weren't able to use that space as often, they sort of traveled around and used different spaces all over the island, really. And when they finally got their own home, where we are at 46 Merchant Street, the board of directors said they wanted to make sure that this theater always loaned out its space to people who had need for space, had the talent, but just needed the space. So, so your Dark Night performance is going to be happening during the run of our remount this summer, Show You on Rice. And that's a time when the theater is set up and you have your seating configuration all ready to go for your piece. And how do you describe it to people when you're telling people about it now?
I guess I just say it's set up at Kumu Kahua Theater, and if nobody who I'm talking to has been there before, I just explain, it's a really small, little intimate space, a little black box, and it'll kind of be in I think it's going to be in a 3/4 seating when we're in there, right? Yeah. So audience basically all around except for behind us, and it's just going to be a very interactive performance, very intimate, and hopefully vulnerable for the performers also.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know, I was talking with a non-theater person and describing our theater. I said it was a black box. And
yeah.
They said it's the one thing that survives a plane crash. And I said, yes. Yes, it is. That's what it is. Okay, so the piece itself is interactive with the audience.
Yes.
How do you describe the piece itself when you're telling people about it?
I guess I always like to say I'm kind of going for 2 goals with this piece. First there's the subject matter, which is kind of themed around looking at communication and how communication changes between people when tragedy occurs, when there are tragic events in someone's life, and sometimes it can be awkward to talk about it and share that tragedy. So there's that piece of the performance, and then it's also this very interactive feeling where I want it to feel more like a conversation between the dancers and the audience than like performers up on a stage with lights and a fourth wall. There's not going to be any fourth wall in this performance, because I think modern dance really can have great power of delivering messages when it's done in this kind of more getting back to a community feeling of sharing stories within, like around a campfire or something, if we want to go way back. So it's kind of trying to get back to that idea, and that's the second piece of my performance.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Can we talk a little more? How does it look like when you're communicating with the audience when you're dancing?
Well, I think it's a lot in just the attitude of how the dancers are performing, in the sense that, like I said, we're not working with any fourth wall, so we're not just like dancing as if we can't see the audience. We're acknowledging that they're there, and like we're not all dancing the whole time, so there are some parts where some of us will be off stage, and in those parts we're really just going to be on the side of the stage kind of acknowledging that there are other dancers on the stage at the same time and like viewing them with the audience. And there will be moments where we'll speak directly to the audience and maybe even have the audience members participate in some things, do some things. So yeah, it'll just kind of hopefully feel more organic and natural.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So there is speaking during the piece also.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's lots of dancing and talking at the same time. You know, there are monologues, there's some dialogue between the dancers. Like I said, they're speaking directly to the audience, basically almost the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So let's, how many people are in the piece?
3.
Let's do that. Let's get some logistics down.
Yeah.
It's $5.
Mm-hmm.
We can say that.
Yep.
It's on July 26th, 27th, and 28th, starting at 7:30. You can get tickets at the doors starting at 7 o'clock on those nights. Are you going to do an Eventbrite? For Dark Nights, we don't sell through the box office
Right.
that way, but you can do an Eventbrite if you want.
Right, maybe. We'll see how that goes. Working on a lot of things here.
So let's talk about the development of the piece itself.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make some decisions and say, this is what I want to do, and then you got together the other 2 dancers and directed them, or was it devised? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, so what happened was last fall, I was still at Adelphi University, knowing that I was going to come home for this semester and kind of just be home. And I was kind of wondering, what am I going to do with myself when I'm home for this whole semester, you know? And I was kind of talking to my mom actually about how eventually after college, actually, I would like to bring dance back to Hawaii and maybe have my own company here. And I was telling her, you know, like I could probably get space at Kumu because I know Harry. And then she was like, well, why don't you just do that this summer? Like you could do that this summer. And I was like, all right, I guess so. So it was kind of something I was thinking about. And then I came back home and I didn't really think it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, Harry responded to me and he was like, yeah, you can totally do that. And I was like, okay, this is happening now. I have to do this. So I kind of very quickly talked to my friend who's a dancer at UH Manoa. She was going to be busy this summer, but she suggested other people that I could ask. So I talked to a girl there. I also went to high school at Castle High School in Kaneohe and was part of the dance force there. And so had actually just choreographed a piece for their spring dance concert and had worked with some of the dancers there. And there was one guy in particular who I really liked, so I asked him to join. And yeah, and then I just started working with them. And I mean, kind of the whole time I had this idea of what topic I wanted to speak about, you know? So really it was just, I had the idea for it and I just needed the space and the dancers. And then once that came together, now we are in the thick of creating and it's all happening.
You are creating now.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know how that happens. I mean, sometimes I'm playing music and I'm cooking and I start dancing around.
Yeah.
So the music is moving me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you start with the music when you're devising?
This is a question I get a lot, actually. People always want to know. I think I tend to go for concepts first. I think of what is the message that I want to tell, you know? What is the story that I want to share with people? And then I kind of find music to match it. Mm-hmm. And actually this piece is going to have a lot of, maybe like half of dancing just in silence. So really the music is kind of just like a little helper for this piece. But yeah.
Dancing in silence, they're not speaking, but there is some music there. Because I'll tell you what, I love this. I love to watch a dance piece when it's quiet enough that you hear the dancers' feet hit the floor. You know,
right.
You hear their contact with the floor and
right.
with each other. And I love that.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a concept that we touch on sort of in this piece. And so it's going to be like some parts of the performance will be dancing to no music. Maybe people talking, probably people talking, but just no music. So you can really just hear the work behind the dancing. You can hear the breathing. You can hear the weight shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very cool thing. So where are you in the process now with the dance? It's going to be 40 minutes long. Do you feel like it's there and you're just going to be tweaking until then?
Well, we're shooting for 40 minutes. It's an approximation. I have all my concepts laid out for the whole thing, and I'm about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way done actually creating movement for those concepts. So my goal is by the end of this month, we'll be finished learning choreography and able to start building momentum, building flow of the show, meaning behind it, putting all that into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've choreographed pieces for other organizations in the past?
Mostly for Castle High School's dance concerts. And otherwise, I really haven't done much. There was once when I choreographed a solo that was kind of performed at a little showing event in New York City. But that wasn't really for a company. That was just for me to get my work out there and kind of practice showing work.
Yeah, way to start.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a major undertaking for you.
This is huge. Yeah. A big deal.
Kudos for jumping in.
Yeah.
You know, you're jumping in a nice, friendly space.
Right.
And then I really believe that and I don't want to sound discouraging at all, but I really think that at Kumu Kahua we create a space in which it is okay to fail. Mm-hmm. Meaning it's okay for things to not go exactly the way you wanted them to, because I don't believe there's any failure in art. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's possible to fail in art. You have performers, you have purpose, and you have audience, and you have the relationship between the two of them, and as long as your heart is there, you're not going to fail that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, didn't mean to use the F word, drop the F-bomb, but you know, it's a good friendly space for experimental work.
Yeah.
That way.
We're not at Hawaii Opera Theater with hundreds of people in front of us, so yeah, it'll be much more intimate and very more human, I think, that way.
Yeah, I think so too. What kind of music are you using?
Mostly instrumental, kind of atmospheric, just very. In no way is the music going to take away from the dancing, I think. So yeah, it'll just kind of be like background support for the dancers.
So if you begin with your concepts and then you look for the music that's going to support that, do you spend a lot of time grazing iTunes or,
Yeah, I mean, it gets really frustrating actually to find good music for dance, because there is so much. I don't usually like to go into music with lyrics for dance, just because I feel like lyrics can sometimes tell the audience how they're supposed to feel, and so I don't want to be doing that. And it's definitely, we're going to be doing a lot of editing with our music, because you either get music that is 10 minutes long because it's an instrumental and then you have to chop it down, or just a little 2-minute thing that you kind of have to extend out to 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, so you know what you want, so you're going to engineer it.
Yeah,
Get what you want. You might want to just consider getting to know some musicians.
Yeah.
Who can just say, oh, that's what you want? Okay, we'll make that happen.
Yeah.
I've worked in a theater in which, I'll name drop, Paul Braun was our sound engineer, and he would work with various groups to have them build music that went behind our monologues. Mm-hmm. So there would be, we were doing Curse of the Starving Class, so behind it, and everybody's got a giant monologue during that. During it, you would have music that was tailor-made for the mood, and it's amazing what that does.
Yeah. I wish I had the resources for that.
Yeah, well, you will.
Yeah, eventually.
You've already performed in New York City and now Honolulu, so the people will come.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to, before we get into anything else too deeply, we're going to go into our first commercial break. Okay. So please stick with us. We're talking with Chloe Amos. I'm Donna Blanchard. This is Center Stage on the ThinkTech Hawaii Digital Series, and we will be right back.
Aloha, I'm Hunter Hevlin, host of Sustainable Hawaii here at ThinkTech Hawaii. You can tune in every week on Thursday at 2 p.m. to see interviews with sustainability professionals from around the state and even further abroad, learning about activities with water management, food security, waste management, and a whole host of other fascinating opportunities to get engaged with making a greener island. So if you're interested in making the transition from consuming individuals to communities of producers, check us out every Thursday.
Hi, I'm your host on ThinkTech Asia, Bill Sharp. I look forward to you joining us each Monday between 4 and 5 o'clock when we film right here in our studio in downtown Honolulu. The show, ThinkTech Asia, focuses on contemporary events in Asia. And by Asia, we mean anything from Hawaii, south to Australia and New Zealand, west to Pakistan, and as far north as the Russian Far East. Clearly, this is one of the most economically dynamic centers of the world, and we bring you up to date on what's going on in a whole host of countries in this very vital region. We look forward to seeing you.
Hi, welcome back to Center Stage. I'm Donna Blanchard, and I am talking with dancer and choreographer Chloe Amos. And we have, I always forget to mention this, but you can tweet us at ThinkTechHI, and we are more than happy to answer your questions. You can be a part of the conversation. We have a tweet from Mark Ward, and I happen to know that Mark Ward is talking to us from Chicago. He asks, as a choreographer, what do you consider to be the most difficult part of the creative process? How do you manage/overcome it? Thanks. That's an excellent question, Mark.
So I would say definitely the most difficult part so far in this process has been actually creating movement. You know, it's been pretty easy to think of what's the message I want to tell, how am I going to conceptually get that across, and then it's getting actually into the rehearsal space and trying to come up with the movements that will conceptually do that, because everybody kind of has their own style, I think, in dance, and it can get to be kind of repetitive, and you start wondering, does this all look the same? Or you just get choreographer's block, just like writer's block or anything else. And I think it's been a real challenge to just kind of trust my abilities and trust when I'm feeling like I need to take a break, and have faith that taking a break will refresh and relax and let some of those creative juices flow, because when you have a deadline, it can get really stressful, and then that is just not productive. But yeah, so that's been the hardest part, and I'm really excited to get through that and start really tweaking stuff and building it up. That's the funnest part for me. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when someone has writer's block, you're sitting in front of a computer, there's only so much you can do. You can read, you can get out and read something, I guess.
Yeah.
When you're a dancer, you can just listen to music and fling yourself around the room. Sorry. I don't mean to belittle your... That's what you do. You just fling yourself around the room, right? No.
Just rolling around.
I'm not going to ask your age. We don't have to go there. You're obviously young, and that's an amazing lesson for you to have already,
right,
really absorbed by this age, that sometimes when you're really under the gun, that is exactly the time when you have to step away from what you're doing and recompose yourself, and then you can come back to the really great stuff.
Definitely, yeah. I think the creating part is actually really difficult, because that is the moment when it's just you, and it's kind of you and your body and your mind by yourself, and it's all up to you. And once you get the other dancers involved, you can kind of use the rest of your cast, like, oh, let's make some changes here, and you can draw from what they'll bring to it. But this initial phase of actually creating movement is just kind of a very lonely phase. Yeah, very isolated.
Okay, well, now let's get to your subject matter, because it sounds like that might actually behoove this show, because you're talking about the times when it is difficult to communicate and most necessary, right, in our lives. I had a guest, I ended up interviewing someone not for my show. There was another host who couldn't interview him, and he teaches hospice care too. He works at Punahou. He teaches students hospice care, and I'm so sorry I can't remember the fellow's name, but he works with students on how to talk to people who are dying, and they know that they are dying.
Yeah.
Everybody there, and it's so, the conversation with him intimidated me, because that's not something that we talk about.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised that way. And there was a time when someone died, they were in the family home, laid out, and the wake was people coming over to make sure they didn't wake up. You know what I mean? That's
right.
so people were around death in a much less formal way than we are now. So it amazed me during that conversation, just the concept of talking about something that disturbing, and only good can come out of that, you know, to go ahead and go down that rabbit hole. So from the synopsis that I read about your show, it sounds like that's what this is all about, is all of the times when conversation is difficult and most needed.
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of the beginnings of the inspiration for this piece came when I actually watched a TED Talk. I don't know if you're familiar with TED Talks, but it was this war veteran who was talking about, you know, how can you really support the veterans? And he was saying, when we come back, don't just say thank you for your service, because what does that really mean? You know, it's kind of just a detachment, a kind of like, I'm going to step back. I don't want to bring anything up for you. I don't want to feel the pain that you've felt. I don't want to make this uncomfortable. But really, I think that a lot of people who have gone through trial want to be able to talk about it, want to be able to share it, so it's not just them by themselves with these thoughts all the time. But it's, you know, it's an awkward situation because the person who maybe has gone through a really tough time doesn't want to just all of a sudden bring that out and put that on someone and make them feel uncomfortable. But then other people don't want to make them feel uncomfortable by bringing it up, and nobody, you know, we all just kind of skirt around the issue. And I think that's kind of a big thing in our society, is to only show the bright side of things. And if we could be a little bit more real, a little bit more honest, and bring out a little bit more of the toughness in life, then maybe people would feel less lonely, I think, in their experiences. So yeah, that's kind of basically what we're aiming at with this piece.
That's very philosophical. You know, I went out with a guy one time who said, yeah, I was in Saudi, don't ask me about it.
Right.
That should have been my last date with him. You know, if you're gonna, I get that sometimes it's really difficult to talk about things, and there are other times when I have been guilty about talking about things that are tough, and like killing a party, you know, or you know, killing a nice conversation, because I was just being honest. That's where we were in the conversation for me, and it's really hard to come back from something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, kudos for broaching the topic, and you're broaching it through dance and communication that way. Are you planning to have any sort of talk back following the performance?
I had kind of played around with the idea, but I think for now I'm just trying to tackle the
dancing
the
itself.
dancing
Oh, yeah.
itself.
Let me just give you something else to think about.
But I mean, if the audience, like, you know, like I said, it's going to be more of a conversation than a performance, so I don't really see us, like, taking bows and then going off stage and not talking to the audience. I think we'll kind of linger, and if people feel comfortable coming up to us and, you know, talking to us about it and asking us questions, totally open for conversation there. Yeah.
That's cool. Sometimes great conversations after show, and I think that art is in our lives for the purpose of those conversations afterwards. You know, it's what you carry with you when you leave the theater. Sometimes really great conversations will happen on an event page on Facebook. You know, that's where the communication will come out in a very informal, when you have time to look at it type of way. So maybe that's good. We can facilitate more than that.
Yeah.
If you would like to. And
Okay.
I'm anxious to see, you know, what this can possibly stir up for people.
Yeah.
Because,
Me too. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows? I mean, it can be disturbing to pull that from someone. It's very possible that you'll have people in the audience who have things that they would really love to talk about and communicate about and have not been able to.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to say, I do think that, like you were saying about the guy you went out with who didn't want to talk about his experience, right? I think there's a lot of space in our society for that, for keep it to yourself, do your own mourning or whatever alone, if that's what you're comfortable with. But I don't feel like there's a lot of space for those people who don't want to deal with it that way and who want to kind of purge it and get it out and share with people their experiences. So that's kind of what we're going for.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It is much more socially acceptable to say, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
unless you're in group.
Right.
Not that I know anything about that. Um, So, okay, well, it's usually, so you have one fellow in the group.
Yes.
Let's say their names,
Okay.
the other two people.
So we have Gina Cross, who is my dancer from UH Manoa, and Jacob Yamaguchi, who is about to be a senior at Castle High School.
Oh, he's young. Dear. It's, from what I have learned from a marriage counselor, that I do have experience with, that it's much more difficult usually for men to talk about their feelings than it is for women.
Mm-hmm.
So have you noticed a difference with the dancers that you're working with? Have you noticed any difference along sex lines? Gender lines? That's a better word. Zuri's laughing at me now.
I don't know if it was, I don't know if I would necessarily say differences in gender. I think it's, if anything, differences I notice are probably because of age. He is very fresh. He only started dancing, he told me, at Castle High School. So he's kind of new to dancing, and I've been very impressed with how quickly he's gained skill. And his maturity level as a performer, I think, is the reason I picked him, and is the reason why I think that this will work, because he kind of holds his own with me and Gina, even though, I mean, we're not like that much older than him. We're still young too.
Yeah, you're still quite young yourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, age is another part of
Right.
just learning how to put a name on what you're feeling,
Yeah.
to identify it and bring it out. So, what do you hope to gain from this?
Good question. Part of the inspiration for this piece came from my own traumatic experience. And so this is kind of a beginning for me of being able to talk about that more. And it's starting with a small chunk of my experience, which has been, finding a way to talk to people about it, or feeling like I want to talk more about it. So I'm starting there, and maybe, from there I'll be able to grow into talking more about the actual experience itself. For now, I'm just focusing on kind of sharing the knowledge that, hey, like, people need to talk about things sometimes, So it would be nice if someone would say, here, talk to me. I'll listen. I'm here for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, people are going to pay to come and hear you.
Yeah. Hopefully.
They will. We'll make them. We're already advertising it. They absolutely will.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to go to a break now. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about now your education and everything that has led up to this.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go through that. All right.
Sounds good.
So we're going to be right back. Please stay put. And we welcome your tweets at ThinkTech HI. We'll see you in just a moment.
Hi, aloha. My name is Chris Leatham, and I host a show called The Economy and You. The show plays every Wednesday at noon. And on my show, I bring on guests who are interested or working in the technology space. And so I'd like you to come and watch the show and learn with me about all the sort of exciting things that we're doing in Hawaii to build and grow our economy ecosystem. So I'd like to say aloha, and I look forward to seeing you on the show. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Paul Jackson, better known as PJ, and my local interest is in sports. I have my own sports radio show at KWAI AM 1080 that you can stream live. I also have my own website, pjsportsradio.com. We have live guests in studio, and we talk about discussions and topics that everyone wants to know locally here on the islands. We cover everything from surfing to basketball to whatever's going on locally, sports-wise. We try to do our best and cover the topics in depth as much as we can. Once again, thank you for joining PJ here on Hawaii Sports Update.
Hi, Hi, we are back. This is Center Stage on the ThinkTech Hawaii digital series. And I want to let you know that we are coming to you from our new studios in Pioneer Plaza. It's a beautiful studio. I know it looks exactly the same to you here, but it's a beautiful studio. And we actually have a lot more room in this studio. If you would ever like to come down and join us and be a part of our live studio audience, you can do that. You can contact Jay at thinktechhawaii.com. You can also always contact me. You can find me on Twitter at It's All About Donna. I know that's going to be easy for you to remember. Okay, we're talking with Chloe Amos. She is a dancer and a choreographer, and has a show coming up at Kumu Theater July 26th through the 28th, and it's called Murmurs. Oh, we haven't said that yet. It's a very cool name. It's a good word. It's a good word. So let's talk about your background a little bit.
Okay.
And it shouldn't take too long because you're really, really young.
Mhm.
When do you remember dancing, like, you know, firing off a spark in your brain that was something you wanted to be a part of?
Well, let's see. I started dancing, I took some dance classes, well, maybe when I was 12. I was getting better at it, and then by the time I was 14, I kind of wanted to already start choreographing a little bit. And when I went to Castle High School, the thing that I really liked about that program is that most of the dance concerts are largely student choreographed. So you see a lot of student created pieces in their concerts, and that was kind of where I started doing some choreography. And then by the time I got to my senior year, I kind of knew I wanted to go towards modern dance. So I applied to a bunch of schools, ended up going to Adelphi University, studied there for a while, and it was very much a technique-driven program. So we were working on ballet and modern technique every day, and I think I just started realizing I wanted something a little bit more creative. So I started looking at transferring, and now I'm really excited to head to Bennington, which is a very choreography-based program. They really focus on student creativity and student work.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of wild that so young you wanted to choreograph your own stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't really like I wanted to choreograph stuff to perform necessarily, but it was more just like in my room, I guess, like I really like this song and I want to do this with it, you know?
Like me in my kitchen.
Exactly, yeah, that was the beginning.
I got to tell you, I'm amazed at how many times I'm interviewing someone here, and it seems like the people who get to the point where they're doing something newsworthy, so I want to bring them in and talk on the show, they are almost always the people who, at some point in their career, they decided, no, I want to actually be more a part of the creative process than just the performance part of it. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
You know, but they're almost all people who said, no, I can do it, I want to do it differently. What I want isn't there, it's not happening yet, so I want to go out and create it.
Yeah.
So what do you like to watch when you go out? Do you see a lot of live performances?
Well, when I was going to school in New York, I would see a lot of performances at the Joyce Theater or Brooklyn Academy of Music, those kinds of places. Here, there's kind of a lot less performance opportunities to watch for modern dance in particular.
Sure.
Which I think is kind of one of the reasons why I, in my life, kind of want to end up bringing modern dance back to Hawaii, because a lot of people will ask me, oh, like, what kind of dancing do you do? And I'll say, I mostly like modern, and nobody really knows what that means or what it looks like, and I think it's time to introduce it to Hawaii. I mean, not that it hasn't been introduced before, but I think it could really grow and become a much more popular thing in Hawaii.
You know, the most popular form of dance in Hawaii now is burlesque. We
Really?
have a really strong
I had
burlesque
no idea.
scene here.
Yeah.
Yeah. we have a very strong burlesque scene here. You know, we have the ballet, and we have actually a little hotbed of performances going on just between this month and next with your piece, with
Right.
a lot of things that are going on at Agora. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that Sheen Rue's piece at Agora is this coming Saturday, and Sachi, your piece is on the 26th.
Yeah.
And what's the name of that?
Past Boiling Over.
It's past, that's right, past boiling over. And both of those shows, I've interviewed those people on the show, so they are in our archives if you'd like to look at them. And then your piece coming up, all sort of community-driven or and/or interactive,
Right.
and stemming from, I think, more from real life than you get from the ballet.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to disparage the ballet.
Right,
but,
definitely.
so, where do you hope your end game is to come back to Honolulu and stay here, you think? You've already been in New York and you still want to come back to Honolulu?
Yeah. This is something that I'm like still thinking about, you know, but I do eventually want to come home, and I think one of the things that's really interested me in dance, and modern dance particularly, is that I find modern dance is very centralized around urban locations. You know, so like New York City, you find a lot of modern dance. And then the more country you get, the less you find modern dance or any dance at all, really. And I find that really interesting because I think modern dance actually is such a step away from ballet, which is very kind of, you know, meant for the upper class. It was originally meant for the royalty, right? So modern dance is trying to step away from that and be more grounded, a little bit more pedestrian, more related to the earth, kind of. And so I'm really interested in seeing how I could combine modern dance with more wide open spaces and less urban environments, maybe. Because I think that there's a possibility for a really great partnership in that kind of setting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times in smaller towns, there'll be one little theater group.
Yeah.
That, you know, and people come from miles around because that's it. That's
Right.
what you're going to get. You are, so you get that. That's cool if you can get an audience, those people who understand that that's what they want to be a part of. But also then you are limited, a lot of times those groups are limited in the talent pool that's in that area because
Right.
that's also all you get. So if you can come in and, I don't know, potentially work with people there and bring your own
Yeah.
into the mix, that's an awesome thing for a community to be able to experience.
Yeah.
I think that anything that we do that enables art to reflect our day-to-day lives is really important for the human spirit. It's important for important for the performers, and I think a lot of times with art we forget about the fact that it's good for the artist too.
Right.
It makes the artist a better person in our society when they are able to express themselves, but also we all gain from witnessing that expression.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope there's some, I hope we can do some kind of conversation after your piece because,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's a good story how you have come to this place.
Right.
Oh, you've performed at Kumu Theater before, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You left that out when you were talking about how young were you? You were young, right?
I think I was 11 and then I was 13 because there was a revival.
It was
I was in
Kamau
Kamau,
and
yeah.
Kamau. Oh, just Kamau.
Yes,
That's right. You're not
yeah.
in Kamau. Okay.
Yeah, just that one.
You were only 11. How did you get into that at that age? Was your family involved in the theater?
No, I was really into acting and film acting, and my mom was kind of pushing, you know, she's always kind of my pusher. And so I tried film out in LA actually for a little bit, and then I came back, and my mom was kind of looking around, you know, being my little manager, and she was like, you know, there's some film here, but there's also a lot of theater that maybe we should jump you into. So I think I auditioned for like Aladdin at Diamond Head Theater, but had never had singing or dancing lessons, so that didn't work out. And then found Kumu Kahua, which mostly does like straight plays, right? So that was kind of right in my ballpark because I had mostly been working on acting. Yeah, and Harry was kind of just like, where did you come from?
Oh, nice.
There it was, yeah, it happened.
That was an intense piece too. I didn't see
Right.
the original come out, but very very difficult piece about the Hawaiian sovereignty movement and how that, what has happened to a lot of Hawaiian families here. That must have been, how much did you really understand of what was going on at the age of 11?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I really tapped into the importance of the play within the Hawaiian sovereignty movement, and its message. I think everyone was kind of more focused on like subject matter of the play sometimes. Like actually, the writer of the play kind of like apologized to me and my mom. I have a memory of him apologizing about like the profanity and some of the more graphic parts of the play, and everyone was kind of concerned, like, how are you letting this little child take part in all of this? But I think I've always been a little mature for my age, so it wasn't too bad. I mean, I'm not traumatized from the experience, which is a good thing.
That's actually what made you want to do this dance, right?
Yeah, that was the traumatic experience I was
no.
talking about.
Sorry, Alani, I didn't mean that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, just being in the character for so long, I think I was doing Stevie for like she felt like a big chunk of my life for a little while, because it was so many shows, and then it came back, and I was like, I'm never gonna be free from this show. But that was the only thing that would get difficult sometimes, was I think just being that intense in my character so often. Sometimes, when you're that young as an actor, the lines kind of get blurred between acting and real life. So had to be really careful to not, when I'm crying on stage, get off stage and don't keep crying. Make sure there's a divide there.
Yeah, that's pretty, one of the things I love most about acting is that you have an opportunity to tap what is already there. I don't think when we're acting that we are ever putting anything on. We're just peeling,
right,
certain layers back
to
reveal what's already there. That's why it's so much fun to play sometimes really despicable characters who are doing heinous things, because we all have the ability to do that. We might as well exercise it on stage and then cover it back up before we go home. But yeah, it's such a young age. That's a very difficult time to experience that, having to let go. And I know a lot of adult actors who have to work really hard at having a ritual that will help bring them back to where they need to be, so that they can go home and not drink and have illicit affairs, because that's what their character does.
Right. Yeah.
So you did it when you were 11, and then you came back and did it again at 13.
Yes. I think we taped my boobs down a little bit because they were starting to pop out a little. And I still had to be an 11-year-old, so.
Yeah. Well, obviously you did a good enough job at the role that they didn't want to get someone without boobs.
Yeah, I guess so.
It wasn't worth it to do that. So, what do you do when you step away from the work? We've just got a few more minutes here, but I'd really like to know, when you step away from the work to find some inspiration to continue, and particularly because you might be needing to do this a little bit over the next few weeks.
Right.
Where do you go for inspiration?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I generally like to just relax. I think the best idea would probably to do something fun. I don't always have the ability or the time for that. Sometimes I take a nap. Yesterday I took a nap. I was like, this is just not working. And then I went and took a nap. Yeah. Actually, it's funny because, okay, this is going to get weird, but my sister just emailed me this information about the new moon that happened yesterday, and this like affirmation thing for your zodiac horoscope or whatever, and mine said, you need to like have fun and trust that you know what you're doing and relax, because then you're creative. Basically, they were just telling me to calm down and have fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you do have to take time to have fun. I mean, I'm a very driven person, and I'm sometimes guilty of sitting in front of the computer for too long. You got to take the time to have fun, so you remember who you are and why you are doing what you're doing.
Definitely.
So go to the beach.
Yeah, get into nature. I usually, that's where I would ideally like to go if I had the gas money and time to drive all over the place. But
bus.
Yeah.
2:50. Okay, we need to go, but it's been really lovely talking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
I'm really looking forward to the piece. I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too.
Thanks for being here. And I would like to thank you for being here. There's a few other people I would like to thank. Our studio overlord, Zuri Bender, who is in my ear. Our floor manager, Sachi Slomov, who's right over there. Hi, Sachi. And Jay Fidel, who somehow manages to put all of this together. Come back and join us. Next week, we're going to be talking with a photographer named Aaron Bernard, who does some amazeballs work. You won't believe it when you see it. And I look forward to seeing you then, 2 o'clock.